Back to the finals, man. Back to the finals, man. I don't take this moment for granted at all. It took me 7 long years. 7 long years, baby.
Wait. Luka, what you got to say?
You guys on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Picture this. Your favorite basketball team just stormed into the NBA Finals with unstoppable momentum, then tore itself to pieces before the next season even began.
The Western Conference champions are the Dallas Mavericks. They're going to the NBA Finals. And going to the finals for the first time in 13 seasons.
That's exactly what the 2024 Dallas Mavericks did, morphing from a powerhouse on the rise into a franchise in utter chaos overnight. Injuries, rumors of curses, front office stubbornness, and furious fans. Every piece of the meltdown seemed to align in perfect disharmony. How did a team on the brink of championship glory collapse so completely? And why are so many supporters calling it the biggest self-destruction in modern sports history? Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth behind a historic downfall and the chain of events that doomed the Dallas Mavericks. A year ago, the Dallas Mavericks rocketed into the NBA Finals and electrified fans everywhere. They had a balanced roster, unstoppable energy, and the kind of confidence only a championship contender can boast. Then, almost overnight, that near-perfect machine got dismantled. Instead of fine-tuning a winning formula, the front office went wild, trading away fan favorites, reshuffling key positions, and casting aside stability. Their biggest move? Parting ways with Luka Doncic. They claimed they weren't convinced he could carry the future, citing concerns about his conditioning. But listen to this. Rumors swirled that deeper disagreements, maybe power struggles among executives or personal locker room conflicts, drove the decision more than any health issue. That's not all. The Mavs didn't just lose their star. They also brought in new faces with sketchy injury histories and massive contracts. Some fans tried to stay optimistic, but the shock was real. One day, you're cheering for a cohesive finals roster. The next, you're scratching your head at a front office that gambled everything on question marks. Critics immediately called it reckless. But it gets crazier. While executives insisted they had a master plan, many saw a hasty roll of the dice that would haunt the team. Little did anyone know the real chaos was only beginning. When the Mavericks shocked the world by trading Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, jaws dropped across the league.
Did you think of the Luka trade?
They say that nobody knew about the trade.
Yeah, I thought it was fake news.
Traded probably the best scorer in the NBA at 25. And he didn't know about it.
First team, a 25-year-old, a guy that was just made it to the finals 7 months ago, a guy that led the league in scoring, a guy that finished, I think, second or third in MVP.
Fans wondered how Dallas could give up a triple-double machine in exchange for the injury-prone Anthony Davis and the unpredictable Kyrie Irving. Some optimists still held out hope. Maybe Davis's interior dominance and Kyrie's scoring prowess could offset losing Luka. But wait. There's more. In their very first outing, Davis and Irving lit up the court. For about 25 breathless minutes, they looked unstoppable, feeding off each other's energy and making it seem like the Mavs had just engineered the biggest steal in NBA history. Then, Anthony Davis stepped off with a thigh injury, and everything started spiraling. It gets crazier. Davis's absence was just the first domino to fall. Daniel Gafford tore his MCL. PJ Washington and Jaden Hardy both went down with ankle injuries, and Dante Exum checked out with a foot problem. One by one, Dallas's promising new roster landed on the injured list, leaving Kyrie Irving to carry the load solo. He dazzled with 30-point outbursts night after night, but the sheer workload was unsustainable. But that's not all. Inevitably, Irving also went down, an ACL tear that brought the Mavericks' hopes crashing down for good. Suddenly, a franchise that once believed it had found an alternative to relying on Luka Doncic was limping along without enough healthy bodies to fill a rotation. Meanwhile, The man they traded away was electrifying Los Angeles. With his usual stat sheet dominance, fans across Dallas started whispering about curses, front office mismanagement, and one question nobody wanted to answer. Had the Mavs just made the worst move in modern NBA history? In just one season, the Dallas Mavericks went from a cohesive team on the brink of a championship to a jumbled roster nobody recognized. Gone were the faces who battled in the finals. In their place stood new arrivals and sidelined veterans. The Mavs had gambled on bold trades and risky signings, assuming they'd strike gold. Instead, they discovered a perfect storm of injuries, fatigue, and fractured chemistry. But get this, nearly every major contributor from last season either left through those wild trades or landed on the injured list. Fans who once watched smooth ball movement and sharp defense now saw an unfamiliar lineup struggling just to stay competitive. The coaching staff scrambled to piece together a rotation that could survive night to night, yet every adjustment felt like a band-aid on a bullet wound. With the team floundering, the front office tried to spin the situation as bad luck, pointing at the league-wide reality of injuries. But many accused them of gambling on players who came with glaring medical histories and losing. As the losses piled up, the painful truth set in. While Dallas had believed they could replace their superstar and upgrade around him, they'd actually left themselves vulnerable to the exact disaster unfolding before everyone's eyes. Meanwhile, Lakers fans cheered Luka Doncic's every highlight, deepening the Mavericks' sense of betrayal and fueling the rumor that a curse had fallen over the franchise. Everyone wanted answers. How could a finals contender unravel this quickly? Why trade away a cornerstone player for high-risk stars with questionable injury histories? And most importantly, who was taking responsibility for this disaster? The front office stuck to one story. They doubted Luka's long-term conditioning and believed a healthy Anthony Davis plus Kyrie Irving would propel the Mavericks to even greater heights. But here's the wild part. While executives preached patience, fans watched in horror as the entire plan collapsed under a tsunami of injuries. Critics argued that Dallas basically invited this fate by betting the farm on notoriously fragile talents. That's not all. Rumors began swirling about deep-seated friction within the organization, with some coaches and scouts allegedly appalled by the trade, but overruled by higher-ups who wanted to make a big splash. Others whispered that Irving's arrival involved complicated negotiations over minutes and usage, driving the team to push him harder than anyone expected. Then came the final blow. Management announced an 8% hike in ticket prices. Already furious over broken promises and endless losses, fans felt flat out betrayed. Social media exploded with outrage. For a fan base still reeling from the Luka trade and the subsequent meltdown, this felt like the ultimate insult. Suddenly, everyone from local radio hosts to diehard supporters demanded accountability, asking one haunting question: how could the Mavericks squander a finals run and alienate their loyal followers all in the span of a few chaotic months? Mavericks fans had always stood by their team through losing seasons, near misses, and heartbreak. Now, though, they felt betrayed. Chants for the front office to fix this mess echoed in the arena, and social media became a hotbed of fury aimed directly at management. Individuals sporting protest t-shirts and holding signs demanded immediate accountability. But here's the real shocker. Wizards fans, even those used to disappointment, started offering their condolences. That's how dire the situation became. Local radio stations fielded call after call from furious supporters, each one asking the same question: how could the Mavs throw away such a promising future? Brace yourself, because the outrage didn't stop with angry callers. The ongoing meltdown was magnified by the fact that Luka Doncic, deemed a health risk, was thriving in a Lakers jersey. Then it got even more intense. As losses piled up and superstars remained out of action, rumors of a Mavericks curse spread like wildfire. Fans vented that the front office's treatment of Luka might have invited some cosmic payback, while others insisted it was just a run of spectacularly bad luck. Either way, these rabid supporters, once the heart and soul of the Mavs, now felt like their faith had been exploited by an organization that refused to acknowledge its mistakes. As if the staggering number of injuries wasn't enough, whispers of locker room friction began circulating. Some claimed Kyrie Irving felt deceived, believing he'd landed on a genuine contender, only to see most of the roster crumble around him. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis reportedly grew frustrated with pressure to return before fully healing, sparking questions about mismanagement behind the scenes. But wait, there's more. Fans started pointing to the front office's harsh send-off of Luka Doncic as a possible source of a curse. After all, the timing was eerie. Dallas trashed their former star's commitment, then suffered an injury plague that derailed their entire season. Observers flocked to social media to poke fun at the so-called basketball gods, claiming they were punishing the Mavs for disrespecting one of the league's brightest talents. Here's where it gets really wild. With every new press conference, officials sidestepped blame, insisting the injuries were just rotten luck. But supporters weren't buying it. They saw a pattern: short-sighted decisions, questionable trades, and little remorse for sidelining the franchise's once-in-a-generation cornerstone. The whispers turned into roars, with many deeming the meltdown a direct result of hubris and a monumental gamble gone horribly wrong. With Kyrie Irving out for the season and Anthony Davis barely able to leave the trainer's room, the Dallas Mavericks ended up fielding a roster that didn't even resemble the team fans had cheered just months before. Young, unproven players were suddenly thrown into the spotlight, scrambling to keep the ship afloat. While losses piled up, analysts across the league agreed on one thing: the Mavs' future looked grim. They had mortgaged away draft assets, gambled on star-caliber players with injury woes, and alienated their loyal fan base in record time. But here's where it really stings. Not too long ago, Dallas was a playoff juggernaut, flirting with championship glory. Now, local radio stations buzzed with calls demanding radical changes in the front office. Some fans wanted a complete teardown, again, while others insisted the team simply needed healthier luck and better planning. Still, the question lingered: had the Mavericks set themselves back years with one ill-fated trade? But get this, every time Lakers highlights aired, featuring Luka Doncic torching defenses and stacking up wins, Dallas supporters felt a fresh surge of regret and anger. They'd been told Luka was a health concern, yet there he was, dominating the Western Conference on two sturdy legs. Could the Mavericks ever shake off the specter of that decision? In a city known for basketball pride, nobody wants to throw in the towel. Yet the lessons from this catastrophic meltdown loom large. Will the franchise swallow its pride, move on from failed experiments, and set a new course? Or will they dig themselves deeper into a pit of denial and bad luck? Here's the gut punch: unless the front office regains the fans' trust and invests in a stable foundation, the Mavs risk sinking into obscurity, a chilling fate for a team that tasted the finals not long ago. The 2024 Dallas Mavericks stand as a cautionary tale of what happens when an NBA front office forgets the delicate balance of vision, patience, and respect for its star talent. But here's the real kicker: this was a team that, not long ago, nearly hoisted a championship trophy. Now, they're nursing the wounds of a historic meltdown, a self-inflicted storm of hubris, injuries, and frustration. Wait, there's more. Despite the chaos, Mavs fans haven't abandoned ship. They're louder and more determined than ever, demanding a plan that restores their faith. Meanwhile, clips of Luka Doncic torching opponents in a Lakers jersey serve as a constant, agonizing reminder of what might have been if the Mavericks had nurtured the very star they cast aside. So can Dallas pull itself out of this spiral? Will the front office own up to its mistakes, patch the rift with the fan base, and build a competent roster for next season? Here's the haunting truth: unless they rewrite their script, and fast, this collapse might mark the beginning of a new dark era, rather than just a temporary stumble. Would the Mavericks take it all back if they could turn back time? The organization may never admit it publicly, but fans, and perhaps the basketball gods, suspect they already know the answer. But get this, until Dallas confronts the root of its downfall, the echoes of this colossal misstep will keep reverberating through the league, leaving everyone to wonder how a near champion could collapse so thoroughly. For now, at least, the Mavericks' fate remains uncertain, with a legacy of squandered potential, casting a long shadow over what was once a promising future.